a horse that no one could tame. 3 owners gave up on him, the 4th did not. And what happened in a cave at the corner of the ranch left a veterinarian without any explanation. A miracle of the Virgin Mary that began with an animal that wouldn't let anyone get close. But before continuing, leave a comment saying where you are watching from and what time it is there right now. I would love to see how far the miracles of the Virgin Mary are reaching. Do you know that kind of man who never cries? The kind who solves everything with his own hands and never asks anyone for help? Ryan was that man. 55 years living on the same land his grandfather had carved out. A large ranch in Montana, the kind where you look toward the horizon and can't see where it ends. Blue sky on one side, mountains on the other, and in the middle, horses, many horses. Ryan woke up every day at 4 in the morning. He had learned that from his grandfather. And he never changed. He drank his coffee, put on his hat, and headed out to the corral. The ranch hands already knew. When Ryan arrived, no one said anything. They just worked. It wasn't that he was mean. It was that he didn't know how to be any other way. You know, when you look at someone and realize that person carries the weight of the world on their shoulders, but will never admit that it's heavy. That was Ryan. He loved those horses. He loved every piece of that land. He loved the smell of hay early in the morning and the sound of hooves on packed dirt. But if you asked him, Ryan would shrug and say it was just work. He had learned to ride with his grandfather when he was 8 years old. His grandfather put him on top of a horse and said something Ryan never forgot. Horses feel everything you feel. If you're afraid, he'll be afraid. If you're angry, he'll be angry. If you're patient, he'll trust you, his grandfather said. Ryan carried that with him his entire life. That's why when he heard there was a horse no one could tame, he went after him. The horse was called Storm. At least that was the name the last owner had given him. A large animal, coat dark as a moonless night, and eyes that seemed to hold something inside. Anger, maybe, or fear. Sometimes it's hard to separate the two. Storm had passed through 3 different ranches in 2 years. The first owner gave up after 1 month. The second lasted 3. The third didn't really try. He called Ryan on a Sunday morning and got straight to the point. Ryan, I know you like a challenge. I've got a horse here that won't let anyone get close. Won't accept a saddle, won't accept reins. I've tried everything. Either you take him or I don't know what else to do, said Thomas, the owner of the horse. Ryan stayed silent on the other end of the line. He looked out the kitchen window, saw the sun rising behind the mountains, and answered with just one word. Send him, Ryan said. The ranch hands thought he had lost his mind. Miguel, who had worked on the ranch for 15 years, was the only one brave enough to speak up. Boss, I've seen that horse. He's not normal. There's something wrong with him, Miguel said. Ryan looked at Miguel in that way that made anyone fall silent. And so, on an autumn Tuesday, Storm arrived at the ranch. The trailer pulled up near the main corral. Ryan was there, arms crossed, waiting. When they opened the back door, the horse didn't come out. He stayed inside in the darkness, snorting. He does that, said the man who brought the trailer. You're going to have to force him out. Ryan raised his hand. Leave him, Ryan said. The ranch hands found it strange, but no one questioned it. Ryan stood still, staring into the darkness of the trailer, waiting. About 15 minutes later, Storm appeared at the door. Have you ever looked into an animal's eyes and felt that it was really looking back at you? Not just seeing, but looking. Trying to understand who you are, that's what happened. Storm came down from the trailer slowly, one hoof at a time. He stopped in the middle of the corral and stayed there, staring at Ryan. The wind swept through the horse's black mane. Ryan took a step forward. Storm reared. His front hooves rose into the air, and the horse let out a sound that felt like a scream. The ranch hands nearby ran back, scattering. Miguel shouted for Ryan to get out of there, but Ryan didn't move. He stood there staring at the horse until Storm brought his hooves back down to the ground. The two of them stayed like that, locked in each other's gaze, for another long minute. Then Ryan did something strange. He took off his hat, placed it against his chest, and spoke softly. So softly that no one else heard. "I know what it's like. I don't trust anyone either," Ryan said. "Sometimes we recognize in others what we don't want to see in ourselves, don't we?" The weeks went by. Every day Ryan went to the pasture where Storm stayed. He didn't try to put on a saddle. He didn't try a bridle. He didn't try anything. He just stood there outside the fence, watching. The ranch hands thought it was odd. Miguel asked him once what he was doing. "Waiting," Ryan said. "Waiting for what?" Miguel asked. Ryan didn't answer. In the third week, Storm started coming closer to the fence when Ryan showed up. In the fourth, he stayed about 10 steps away. In the fifth, Storm let Ryan enter the pasture without rearing. Progress. Slow, but progress. But Storm still wouldn't let anyone touch him. Every time someone tried, he backed away, snorted, and made it clear it wouldn't be easy. Ryan wasn't in a hurry. He had his whole life. Or at least, that's what he thought. It happened on a Thursday morning. Ryan was on the porch drinking coffee when he heard the noise. A loud sound, a horse neighing in a different way, followed by the ranch hands shouting. He dropped the mug and ran. When he reached the pasture, he saw Storm on the ground. The horse was lying on his side, his right front leg bent at a strange angle. His eyes were wide, his breathing fast. "What happened?" Ryan asked, his voice louder than usual. Miguel was there, pale. "I don't know, boss." He was running and suddenly fell. "I think he stepped into a hole. His leg," Miguel said. Ryan knelt beside the horse. Storm tried to get up but couldn't. The pain was obvious. The animal, who wouldn't let anyone come near, was now there, vulnerable, looking at Ryan as if asking for help. "Call Dr. Harris, now," Ryan said. Miguel ran off. Ryan stood there beside Storm, his hand resting on the horse's neck. It was the first time he had managed to touch the animal. And that was how it had happened. "Easy, boy, easy. Everything's going to be all right," Ryan said. But his voice trembled. Dr. Harris had been a veterinarian for 30 years. He had seen everything. But when he examined Storm's leg, his face grew serious in a way Ryan knew all too well. "So, doctor, what do you think?" Ryan asked. Harris slowly took off his gloves, wiped his hands, took a long moment before answering. "Ryan, I'm going to be honest with you. It's a serious fracture." "Very serious," Dr. Harris said. "But it can be treated, right?" Ryan asked. Harris looked at the horse, then back at Ryan. "We can immobilize it. We can try, but I've seen this kind of fracture before. This horse will never walk properly again. He'll limp for the rest of his life," Dr. Harris explained. Ryan felt his chest tighten. "Are you sure?" Ryan asked. "I am. I saw the fracture. This horse will never run again, never gallop again. If he's lucky, he'll be able to walk, limping, doctor," Harris said. Ryan stayed silent for a long time. He looked at Storm lying on the ground, breathing heavily. "Do you think I should—" Ryan didn't finish the sentence. Harris understood. "I think you need to think carefully about what you want to do. A horse that can't walk properly, his life won't be easy," Dr. Harris said. Ryan slowly shook his head. "I'm not giving up on him," Ryan said. Harris sighed. "I figured you'd say that. I'll immobilize the leg. Do what I can." "But Ryan, don't build up hope," Dr. Harris said. Ryan nodded. "Do whatever you can, doctor. We'll deal with the rest later," Ryan said. The days that followed were difficult. Storm couldn't stand up. The ranch hands had to help move him to a smaller enclosure with softer ground. Ryan spent hours there, sitting on a small wooden stool, just watching the horse. Miguel showed up from time to time. "Boss, you need to sleep. You need to eat. You can't stay here all day," Miguel said. "I'm fine," Ryan replied. But he wasn't. Anyone could see that. In the first week, Storm managed to stand, limping badly, putting as little weight as possible on the injured leg, but standing. Ryan saw that and felt a tiny spark of hope. In the second week, Storm started to walk, slowly, limping with every step, but walking. And then something strange happened. On the eastern side of the ranch, right where the pasture met a row of ancient trees, there was a grotto. It wasn't a big grotto. It was just a hollow in the rock, with enough space for about 3 people to stand inside. Inside that grotto, there was a statue of the Virgin Mary. No one knew exactly where it had come from. They said Ryan's great-grandfather had brought it back from a trip many years ago. The statue was about 2 feet tall, made of plaster, with hands joined in prayer, and a blue mantle faded by time. The ranch hands went there every morning before starting work. It was tradition. They made the sign of the cross, asked for protection, and left. Ryan never went. He respected it, but he wasn't one to pray. It was Miguel who noticed it first. "Boss, you need to see something," Miguel said one morning. Ryan followed Miguel to a higher part of the pasture, from where they could see Storm's paddock and the grotto farther ahead. "Look over there," Miguel said, pointing. Storm was limping across the pasture, slowly, 1 step at a time, clearly in pain. But he was heading in a specific direction, straight toward the grotto. "He does this every day," Miguel said. "I thought it was a coincidence the first day, but it's been 4 days now. Every morning he goes there. He stands in front of the statue for hours." Ryan frowned. "You're kidding me," Ryan said. "I swear I'm not, boss." "Go see it with your own eyes," Miguel replied. Ryan went down the hill and walked toward the grotto. When he got close, he stopped. Storm was there, standing right in front of the statue of the Virgin Mary, completely still, his head lowered as if he were... Ryan didn't even want to think the word. Have you ever seen an animal praying? It sounds crazy, doesn't it? Horses don't pray. Horses don't understand what a statue is. Horses are just horses. So why was Storm there? Ryan approached slowly. Storm didn't move. He didn't rear. He didn't step back. He stayed there, standing still, as if that were the most natural place in the world for him to be. "What are you doing here, boy?" Ryan whispered. For a second, Ryan had the impression that the horse knew exactly what he was doing. In the days that followed, it became routine. Storm would wake up and limp his way to the grotto, rain or shine. He stayed there for hours, standing in front of the statue. The ranch hands talked among themselves. "Did you see Storm today?" "He was there again," one of them said. "What a strange thing. It's like he's looking at her," Miguel said. Miguel went to talk to Ryan. "Boss, what do you think about this?" Miguel asked. Ryan shrugged. "I think it's a horse." "Horses do strange things sometimes," Ryan replied. "But every day, in the same place, in front of the statue?" Miguel insisted. "What do you want me to say, Miguel? That the horse is praying?" Ryan said. Miguel fell silent. "I don't know what I want you to say. I just know this isn't normal," Miguel said. Ryan looked toward the horizon. "A lot of things in life aren't normal. We accept them and move on," Ryan said. But inside, Ryan was thinking too. 1 week after the accident, Ryan woke up before the sun rose. He couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Storm, about the fracture, about what Dr. Harris had said. He got up, put on his boots, and went to Storm's paddock. The horse was already awake. Ryan opened the gate. "All right, let's go together," Ryan said. He walked beside the horse across the pasture. Storm limped, but kept going, determined. When they reached the grotto, Storm stopped in the same place as always. Ryan stood there beside him. The sun was beginning to rise behind the mountains. Golden light streamed through the opening of the grotto and illuminated the statue of the Virgin Mary. Ryan looked at the horse, looked at the statue. He felt something strange in his chest. Have you ever felt that? That sensation that something is happening that you don't understand? Ryan took off his hat without realizing he was doing it. He stood there, beside the horse, in silence. He didn't pray. Ryan didn't know how to pray. It had been decades since he had stepped inside a church, but he stayed there, silent, and for a moment he felt a peace he couldn't explain. After about 20 minutes, Storm shifted and began to head back to the paddock. Ryan went with him. "You're a very strange horse," Ryan said. Another week passed, and something was different. At first, Ryan wasn't sure. He thought it might be his imagination. The way Storm walked, it seemed a little different. He called Miguel. "Miguel, come here. Look at Storm walking. Don't you think he's walking differently?" Ryan asked. Miguel watched the horse for a while. "I don't know, boss. Looks like the same thing to me," Miguel replied. "Look again. Look at the front leg," Ryan said. Miguel looked more closely. Maybe. He looks like he's limping less. But maybe I'm seeing things," Miguel said. "Yeah, maybe," Ryan said. But he didn't think it was just his imagination. The next day he paid even closer attention. He watched every step Storm took, and now he was sure. The horse was limping less. On the third day, the difference was already clear. He was able to put more weight on the injured leg. On the fourth day, Ryan noticed that Storm was almost walking normally. "That's not possible," Ryan said to himself. On the fifth day, Storm galloped. Ryan was inside the corral when it happened. He saw the horse on the other side of the pasture, and suddenly Storm started running, not limping, galloping. As if he had never injured anything, Ryan felt his legs weaken. "Miguel, Miguel!" Ryan shouted. Miguel came running. "What is it, boss? What happened?" Miguel asked. Ryan pointed toward the pasture. Look at Storm," Ryan said. Miguel looked, and his eyes widened. That's not possible," Miguel said. "That's exactly what I'm saying," Ryan said. The two of them stood there, frozen, watching the horse, who was never supposed to walk properly again, running across the pasture as if nothing had ever happened. Ryan called Dr. Harris that same day. "Doctor, I need you to come here." "Now," Ryan said. "What happened, Ryan? Did the horse get worse?" Harris asked. "No, the opposite. You need to see this," Ryan replied. Harris arrived an hour later. Ryan took him to the pasture where Storm was. "My God," Harris said. Storm was running, galloping from one side of the pasture to the other, his black mane flying in the wind. No sign of pain, no sign that he had broken his leg 2 weeks earlier. "Ryan, how is this possible?" Harris asked. "I was about to ask you the same thing," Ryan said. Harris walked over to the horse. Storm stopped running and allowed the veterinarian to approach him, something he had never done before. "May I examine him?" Harris asked. "You may," Ryan said. Harris ran his hands along the leg that had been fractured. He pressed in several places. He flexed the joint. Storm stood still, calm. "I don't understand," Harris said softly. "What is it, doctor?" Ryan asked. Harris looked at Ryan. His face was pale. "There's nothing here," Harris said. "What do you mean there's nothing?" Ryan asked. "The fracture. It's gone. The leg is perfect." "It's as if it never broke," Harris explained. A chill ran up Ryan's spine. "Are you sure?" Ryan asked. Harris ran a hand over his face. "Ryan, I've been a veterinarian for 30 years. I saw the fracture with my own eyes. I took x-rays. I immobilized that leg. I know what I saw, and what I saw was a fracture that would have left this horse limping for the rest of his life," Harris said. He paused. "This isn't possible. This should not have happened." "Fractures like this do not heal in 2 weeks," Harris said. "But it healed," Ryan said. "I know it healed. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's not possible." "But it healed," Harris said. The two of them stood in silence, staring at the horse. "What do you think happened?" Harris asked. Ryan looked toward the grotto. He thought about Storm going there every day. He thought about the statue of the Virgin Mary. He thought about the strange peace he had felt that morning. "I don't know what happened, doctor. I honestly don't know, Niestes," Ryan said. But the story doesn't end there. Because the healing of the leg was not the only thing that changed. Remember how Storm was the horse no one could tame? The horse that wouldn't let anyone get close? The horse that wouldn't accept a saddle or reins? Well, The day after Dr. Harris's visit, Ryan went out to the pasture where Storm was. The horse saw him coming and walked toward him, not rearing up, walking, calm. Storm stopped in front of Ryan, and he did something he had never done before. He lowered his head and rested it against Ryan's chest. Ryan froze. He didn't know what to do. That was the horse that tried to bite anyone who came near, the horse that reared up when someone tried to touch him, and now he was there, resting his head against Ryan's chest like a dog asking for affection. Ryan slowly raised his hand. He placed it on the horse's head. Storm didn't move. "What happened to you, boy?" Ryan whispered. Storm stayed there still while Ryan stroked him. The ranch hands nearby saw the scene and couldn't believe it. "Boss, the horse is gentle," Miguel said. "Yeah, he is," Ryan said. "But how?" Miguel asked. "I don't know, Miguel, but I think it doesn't need an explanation," Ryan said. In the days that followed, the change became even clearer. Storm let anyone come close. He let the ranch hands brush him. He let them run their hands through his mane. The horse that no one could touch was now the calmest one on the ranch. And there was one more thing. Ryan decided to test it. One afternoon, he went to Storm's corral with a saddle in his hands. The ranch hands stopped what they were doing to watch. "Boss, are you sure?" Miguel asked. "That horse has never accepted a saddle." "I know, but let's see," Ryan said. Ryan approached Storm. The horse looked at the saddle, then at Ryan. He didn't move. Slowly, Ryan placed the saddle on Storm's back. The horse stood still. Ryan tightened the straps. The horse remained still. Ryan put his foot in the stirrup and mounted. Storm didn't rear up. He didn't back away. He didn't do anything. He just stood there, waiting. Ryan took the reins. "Come on, boy," Ryan said. And Storm walked. He didn't bolt, didn't run, didn't try to throw Ryan off. He walked, calmly, as if he had been doing that his whole life. Miguel took off his hat and ran a hand over his face. "I can't believe what I'm seeing," Miguel said. Ryan couldn't believe it either, but it was happening. He guided Storm across the pasture. The horse obeyed every command. Perfect. As if he had never been wild. Ryan stopped Storm in the middle of the pasture. He sat there on his back looking toward the horizon. The mountains of Montana stretched as far as the eye could see. The sky was blue without a single cloud, and Ryan did something he hadn't done in a very, very long time. He smiled. That night, Ryan did something different. After dinner, when all the ranch hands had already left, he walked toward the grotto. It was dark. The full moon lit the path, but even so he stumbled a few times. When he reached the grotto, he stopped. The statue of the Virgin Mary was there, as always. The moonlight came in through the opening and fell on her face. It looked like she was smiling. Ryan took off his hat. He stood there in silence for a long time. Do you know what it's like to want to say something, but not be able to find the words? That was how Ryan felt. Finally he spoke, his voice low, almost a whisper. "I don't know how to pray, I never did. My grandfather tried to teach me, but I was stubborn. I always was," Ryan said. He paused. "But I saw what happened to that horse. I saw him come here every single day. I saw him stand there in front of you hour after hour, and I saw him heal. I saw his leg heal when there was no way it could heal. I saw him become gentle when he was the wildest horse I had ever known," Ryan said. Ryan took a deep breath. "I don't know what you did. I don't know if it was you who did it. Maybe I'll never know. But I wanted to say thank you for him. And for me too, I guess. Because I didn't know I needed a miracle, but maybe I did," Ryan said. He put his hat back on his head. "Thank you," Ryan said. And he walked away. The months went by. Storm became the best horse on the ranch. Calm, obedient, strong. Ryan rode him every day. The two who were so alike, so stubborn, were now inseparable. The story spread throughout the region. Veterinarians from other towns came to see Storm. They wanted to understand how the fracture had healed so quickly. No one could explain it. It's as if it had never been broken, one of them said. But I saw the previous exams. There was clearly a fracture. It makes no sense. It really didn't make sense. But Ryan had stopped trying to understand. Some of the ranch hands began going to the grotto more often. They prayed more, stayed longer. The statue of the Virgin Mary received fresh flowers every week. Someone placed candles, someone cleaned the moss off the stones. Ryan never went there alone again, but every time he passed nearby, he took off his hat. And there was one last thing. It was a spring Sunday, about 6 months after everything that had happened. Ryan was on the porch of the house drinking coffee when he saw a pickup truck entering the ranch. He didn't recognize the vehicle. The truck stopped near the main corral. A man got out. About 40 years old, cowboy hat, dusty boots. He looked nervous. "Can I help you?" Ryan asked. The man took off his hat. "Are you Ryan?" the man asked. "I am," Ryan said. "My name is Thomas. Thomas Garrett." "I was Storm's owner," Thomas said. Ryan understood. "The third owner," Ryan said. "Yeah, the one who gave up on him and called you," Thomas said. Ryan nodded. "What do you want, Thomas?" Ryan asked. Thomas looked at the ground, then back at Ryan. "I heard the stories. Everyone in the region is talking. About the horse, about the broken leg, about what happened," Thomas said. "And?" Ryan said. "And I came to see it with my own eyes, because I knew that horse. I know what he was like." "And if half of what they're saying is true," Thomas said. He didn't finish the sentence. Ryan looked at the man for a moment. Then he stood up. "Come with me," Ryan said. They walked to the pasture where Storm was. The horse saw Ryan approaching and came trotting toward them. Thomas stopped walking. "That Storm?" Thomas asked. "It is," Ryan said. "But he's coming toward us," Thomas said. "Yeah," Ryan said. "The Storm I knew would never do that. He ran from anyone," Thomas said. "Things change," Ryan said. Storm stopped in front of them. He rested his head against Ryan's chest, the way he did every day. Thomas's eyes went wide. "I can't believe it," Thomas said. "Do you want to pet him?" Ryan asked. Thomas hesitated. "Will he let me?" Thomas asked. "He will," Ryan said. Thomas slowly reached out his hand. Storm stayed still. Thomas touched the horse's neck, ran his hand through the mane. "It's the same horse," Thomas said, his voice trembling. "But it's not the same horse. That's not possible." Ryan said nothing. Thomas looked at him. "What happened here, Ryan? Tell me the truth," Thomas said. Ryan thought for a moment. "The truth? I don't know the truth. I only know what I saw. The horse broke his leg. The veterinarian said he would never walk right again. The horse started going every day to a grotto where there's a statue of the Virgin Mary. He would stand there for hours. 1 week later, the leg was healed. And the horse that no one could ever tame became gentle," Ryan said. Thomas stayed silent for a long time. "Do you think it was a miracle?" Thomas asked. Ryan looked at Storm, looked toward the direction of the grotto, looked at the blue Montana sky. "I think there are things we can't explain, and that we don't need to explain, just accept," Ryan said. Thomas nodded slowly. "Can I go to the grotto? See the statue?" Thomas asked. "You can. Just follow that trail over there." "It's at the end where the trees begin," Ryan said. Thomas went. Ryan stayed there, stroking Storm. Half an hour later, Thomas came back. His eyes were red. "Thank you," Thomas said, "for taking care of him and for letting me see." "You're welcome," Ryan said. Thomas left. Ryan never saw him again, but months later he heard that Thomas had started going back to church, that he had reconciled with his family, that he had changed his life. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe not. When the horse grew too old to be ridden, Ryan let him roam free in the pasture, and every day Storm still went to the grotto, until the very last day. Do you know what the strangest part of this story is? It's not the impossible healing. It's not the horse going to the grotto every day. It's not the change in behavior that no one could explain. The strangest part is what happened to Ryan, that man who never cried, who never showed emotion, who solved everything on his own and never asked for help. That man changed. Not all at once, not overnight, but he changed. He started smiling more. He started talking to the ranch hands, asking about their families. He started going into town, having coffee at the restaurant, talking to people. And every night, before going to sleep, he would stop on the porch, look up at the stars, take off his hat, and remain silent for a moment. When Miguel asked what he was doing, Ryan shrugged. "Just giving thanks," Ryan said. "Giving thanks for what?" Miguel asked. Ryan looked at the ranch hand. He smiled in a way Miguel had never seen before. "For everything, Miguel. Giving thanks for everything," Ryan said. They say that miracles are extraordinary events, things that defy logic. Maybe that's true, but maybe the greatest miracles are the changes that happen inside. A wild horse that became gentle, a closed-off man who opened his heart. Is that a miracle? I don't know. You decide. But I know one thing. Ryan was never the same after Storm, and Storm was never the same after the grotto. Before we finish, I want to invite you to be part of our prayer community for the Virgin Mary, a space of faith and hope, where people from all over the world come together to pray and share the graces they have received. If you feel in your heart the desire to be part of this chain of prayer, click below and become a member of the channel today. And come pray with us. And look, if you made it this far, all the way to the end of Ryan and Storm's story, do one thing for me. Write in the comments, Storm, the name of the horse that no one could tame until something greater tamed him. I want to see how many hearts this story truly reached. And every time I read that name in the comments, I'll know that one more person believes that miracles of the Virgin Mary still happen. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. Write in the comments about a miracle you have witnessed or experienced, and share this video with someone who needs renewed hope today. May the Virgin Mary continue blessing and protecting you and your family. Amen.